Nia sighed as she scrolled down the comments on her comlink. In theory, she was back to her full strength, having recovered physically from her devastating loss against Svartal. Mentally, not so much. Not at all. Devil's Daughter seems kinda weak here, for being one of the very few people strong enough to properly fight back against the killer clown. One comment read on a forum discussing the latest chaos. Her loss to Spartal hadn't exactly been blasted into the open, but rumours had a nasty habit of spreading, especially among the students. She knew her mentors would tell her not to beat herself up over the harsh words, but she had to face her failure. Her crimson skin pulsed slightly as the memory of the fight hit her once again, and she quickly wiped away the start of a tear. I think I've been oversold on how good DD is supposed to be, another read, as she followed the chain of comments. She skipped over the multitude of derogatory comments reminding her of the pain of what she was. Devil spawn, Hellbrood, Azazel's children. She had long numbed herself to the words themselves, but the vitriolic hate behind their racist use saddened her every time. Grandmaster told her he believed her to be a second-born when he discovered her as a young child, too young to have any comprehension of the situation around her in the dying days of the Demon Fire War. Firstborn Stygians had been spawned directly from the power of Azazel's demon core, yet to fuel his army, he granted them the power to breed and multiply like a plague. Certainly, though Azazel's voice had never spoken to her directly, his shadow loomed large over her existence, and the galaxy's perception of her kind. It had been a very rare thing indeed for a Stygian to develop sapience and break free of Azazel's Frau during this time, with Grandmaster Ilvela being one of the very first examples of it occurring. But the Red Legion's war against Azazel has somehow freed all the Stygians at its end. Yet freedom didn't do anything to erase suspicion, nor could it possibly heal old and bitter wounds inflicted during the decades-long war. A major component of their plan was to build up Devil's Daughter as a hero and a champion of the Stygian species, a ploy to repair the rift between them and the rest of the galaxy, and show everyone that Stygians deserved a place in the galaxy. This was bad, and she needed to turn it around. Grandmaster Ovella would probably be zen about it, telling her to simply accept her loss and move on. But she couldn't. So let me get this straight. Devil's Daughter, one of the most powerful magic users, gets punished by one sneck? That's what I call a BS. If she was alive to find the right moment, in the right circumstances, she could even the score. But for now, there was work to be done. Perched on the edge of a towering skyscraper, Devil's Daughter sat cross-legged, shrouded in her enchanted cloak that kept her warm and dry. The glamour she was wearing making her look like just another shadow to anyone watching from afar. She cursed her luck as she waited for her target to arrive. The business at Cypherport was by all accounts a nasty affair, though by the time she was aware of the troubles, Commander Cocaine had gotten there first and completely ruined any chance of her discovering with any certainty what had actually happened. Rumour had it that Jack and his group had been involved somehow, being mentioned as one of the possible parties that killed the Redeemer, with the other possibilities mentioning Commander Cocaine, and a few mentioning her. A pity I never got the chance to slay the Redeemer myself. Nia sighed to herself, as her glowing eyes surveyed the street below her. His reign of terror had to be stopped, but if the rumours of his involvement with the Emerald King were true, I could have learned much from the earliest known convert to date. Such a display would have also rapidly revitalized the city's trust in her, and repaired her reputation. While it hadn't faded too much in the last few weeks, since other news came to the fore, the people had noted her absence. Still, she had made a name for herself before. She could do it again. Starting tonight. The silent alarm ward she had placed earlier tingled in her mind, and from her perch, she surveyed the alleyway below. The sound of heavy boots splashing through puddles echoed down the street as a group of 5 armed men and women emerged, their cobbled-together armour reflecting the flickering light from a broken street lamp that one of them chucked an empty beer can at, missing it completely. They carried crude rifles and bats, their movements confident and unhurried, as if daring anyone to challenge them. Nia scowled. The Rust Wreckers were one of many local gangs taking advantage of the chaos caused by the megacorporations and other factions tearing at each other's throats. They had seized control of the local utilities for several of the nearby low-income districts, threatening to cut off essential services like water and power if residents didn't comply with their demands. Soon enough, tithes of money and other riches weren't enough, and the gang very quickly kept demanding more and more, using their local network of armed patrols to maintain their grip of these neighborhoods and intimidate dissenters, setting themselves up as the de facto leadership in the process. As the residents were already poor, they couldn't realistically hire mercenaries to drive off or slaughter the gang, and other organizations that might have otherwise been inclined to help had their attention and resources focused on more pressing matters, such as the hunt for Dr. Reyes Grine. Nia scowled as she thought of her enemy. The slippery bastard had escaped her several times in the past, and his heinous experiments were some of the worst she had ever seen. She still sometimes saw the bodies of those poor children in her dreams. But to think he was involved in something greater, working in tandem with the killer clown of all people, it made her more determined than ever to be the one to find him. She had thought of many ways to make him suffer. Death would be far too merciful for a man like him. "Reckon we can squeeze any extra tonight?" The leader of the patrol, a towering brute with yellowish-brown fur, asked the others with a grating chuckle. "They don't have a choice," another cackled. A thin, wiry man who Nia saw had a cybernetic eye that whirred lowly as it scanned the area. "Nobody's going to risk their family freezing to death." "Still, wouldn't mind cracking a few heads if they try to hold out." A reptilian woman with rust-coloured tattoos snaking up her neck grinned. "I'm almost pissed nobody's tried anything." Devil's daughter's tail twitched under her cloak as she listened to them, her grip tightening on the edge of the crumbling building. Lowly sighing under her breath, Nia followed them, muttering a quick cantrip that pulled herself to her feet before blinking to the fire escape just behind the patrol. With a flick of her wrist, Nia summoned her grimoire and quickly flicked through several of the pages before settling on the summonings to prepare. "Nas havdraktikaris." She muttered the phrase of Infernal, the language of the demonic realm, initiating the link she was attempting to form, before quickly vocalizing the words on the page, silently in her mind. While she had a series of demons already bound to her that she could rapidly conjure without needing to prepare in the field, having already summoned them back at the sanctuary, she would rather only resort to awakening them when she absolutely needed to. With something as trivial as this, she could afford to take a little time to summon a few demons for the duration of the task at hand, before either she dismissed them, or the binding spell expired to send them back to the infernal planes they came from. Waving her hand, she watched as 3 tiny winged figures materialized on the fire escape railing, their tails swishing excitedly as the imps looked at her with bright, curious eyes. "Hiya, boss!" The one on the left spoke up telepathically, bound by the intentions Nia had mentally imposed on their binding. "We were getting worried about you." "No, you weren't," Nia communicated back with a scowl, knowing full well that as affable as the 3 imps were, they were still evil creatures. All demons were, in a way, though at least the vast majority of them she had used didn't communicate with her. Which is why she never had these 3 chatterboxes bound to her for any great length of time. "Yeah, that's true," another retorted with cackling laughter. "What have you got for us this time?" "Distractions," Nia retorted, knowing that the imps were bound to follow her commands to both the letter and spirit. "Sweet! Sounds like fun!" the third imp cheered. "Been a while, though. Have you been taking a vacation? Have you finally gotten laid and gotten that stick out of your—" "Be silent," Nia commanded. And just like that, all 3 immediately fell silent, compelled to obey. "Distract and divide them. Do not reveal your nature to them. Do not fail me. Go!" The creatures bowed their heads in eerie unison, before scattering into the shadows, their forms vanishing as though they were never there. One flew to the other side of the street, and clambered along a nearby wall, its claws scraping softly against the crumbling concrete. Another slithered to ground level along a storm drain, keeping to the shadows as they followed the patrol closely, while the third dove down and flew up to perch on top of a buzzing neon sign for Mirrodin magic technology. Ahead, the patrol paused outside the boarded-up door of a local diner as the leader gestured towards a nearby storefront with shattered windows. "Check in there," he sneered to the others. "Maybe there's extra credits in the register." As several of the figures began to fan out, the imp on the wall made its move, gliding down into a pile of trash on the other side of the road, before kicking off and vanishing into the darkness, causing several glass bottles to smash against each other on the tarmac. "What the hell was that?" one of the men barked, spinning toward the sound. Taking its cue, the imp on the sign ripped out the power couplings, turning the sign off and plunging the already dimly lit street into total darkness, while the imp on the wall emitted a low, guttural growl that set the patrol on edge. "Fuck!" one of the women cursed. "I'm checking it out. Someone wants to fuck with us." Nia watched with satisfaction as the patrol fractured and moved out of formation. Now that the imps had done their job, it was her turn. Picking her target, Nia cast a globe of silence around herself and blinked down behind one of the men outside, towards the back of the group. Drawing on her power, her hand glowed blue as a ghostly glove-like shimmer appeared over it, before she firmly planted her palm into his back. The deadly enchantment snuffed the life out of the gangster with necrotic energy. The globe of silence around her, preventing any sounds within from alerting the others to her presence, as she strode forward 3 more paces and planted her palm into the next before they even knew what had happened. As the last turned around, Nia thrust her hand forward, sending a beam of eldritch power to strike them in the chest, allowing the commotion to lure the final 2 out of the storefront, where 2 more eldritch blasts put them down. Too easy. "Maintain overwatch and alert me of any threats," Nia ordered the imps, as she swiftly rummaged through the pockets of the dead patrol, finding the access keycard to the local utility station the rust wreckers were holding hostage. Blinking back up to the same perch she had sat at before, Nia conjured a portal and crossed it with her imps, not bothering to hide the bodies of the patrol. She wanted people to know it was her, and she would be gone from this place soon enough. "I need to secure the controls and make sure they haven't sabotaged the pumps and generators," Nia thought to herself, mentally forming a plan in her mind. She used her arcane sight to look for any signs of enemy mages, but couldn't see any. Likely the gang was simply relying on the existing wards around the building that prevented anybody from teleporting themselves in. "Good thing I already have the key," Nia shrugged to herself, as the imps spread themselves around the perimeter of the station, confirming there was only a small patrol outside, a few security cameras to worry about out of a bunch that probably weren't working properly, and that a staff door at the back was probably the best way to sneak in. "And I can't see any walls that will stop me from teleporting out. No wonder the station got taken so easily in the first place." Blinking to the gate, Nia slid the keycard through the access panel, causing the gate to open with a faint hiss as she stepped inside and looked around. The station's interior was a maze of pipes and machinery, the air thick with the smell of oil and ozone. Overhead, flickering fluorescent lights cast sporadic shadows that danced across the walls, a clear sign that though the place was poorly maintained, it was at least functional. Hopefully she could keep it that way. Maintaining her globe of silence over herself, Nia headed towards a set of stairs close by, figuring that anything important would probably be at the top of the small complex. Quickly ascending them, she emerged onto some sort of catwalk, where a few guards were looking over at the large open space below, which housed what she assumed were the generators and water pumps that provided the utilities for the area. It didn't look like there were any explosives, but just in case, she didn't want to be held up here. Thinking quickly and seeing that the floor below was poorly lit, Nia whispered an incantation, summoning a set of spectral tendrils that slithered across the catwalk like living shadows, before in a coordinated motion they each crawled around a guard's leg and yanked them off the catwalk with a violent snap. Nia immediately sped up, rushing along the catwalk to search for a control center as she muttered a few words under her breath, summoning one of her bound devils that manifested alongside her, a lean 4-foot form with sharp facial features, black scales, and a pair of blood-red wings. It was a Salakoff, an assassin demon, and she wasted no time in ordering it to drop to the lower level and eliminate any hostile below while minimizing collateral damage. Though the foul creature never spoke, Nia still felt the primal satisfaction in its assigned task. She carried on, noting parts of the catwalk that led to other sets of stairs like the one she had ascended, and spotting what was likely the door to the control room in the middle, from where 2 more heavily armed men were emerging from, looking confused. Vish! Nia spoke the word of power, focusing on the space between the two, and suddenly a painfully intense ringing noise erupted from the spot, dropping both men to the ground with thunderous force as the metal of their poorly crafted armor bucked from the power, with 2 beams of eldritch power finishing them off as Nia passed them to enter the control room. Immediately she summoned a shield of infernal energy as the leader hiding within violently unloaded everything he had at the Stygian before his gun overheated and he dropped it to the ground. "Shit! Wait!" he yelled, before a loud noise thundered in the background. Nia didn't know what it was, and didn't want to take any chances as she quickly felled him with a full-power eldritch blast before the leader got any bad ideas. "What was that?" Nia asked the imps, who were still watching outside. "Hey, boss! People coming your way! Have fun!" One of the imps cheerfully informed her, as an explosion rocked the station. Nia rushed to the window and saw that one of the walls had been breached with an explosive of some kind that sent dust scattering all over the place. "Alright, boys," a gruff voice shouted out from somewhere outside. "Yous know what to do. There's been some gits here stealing and shit. Commander Cocaine wants us to find 'em and squish 'em." "Damn it!" Nia cursed, recognizing the voice of Hashbash, Commander Cocaine's lieutenant, from their legendary raid on House Malkar. "I really don't have time for this shit." Almost immediately she heard the sound of loud gunfire and war cries from the undisciplined mob that had just arrived, blasting several of the rust wreckers that had rushed to the commotion, as well as much of the surrounding area, sending cracks up one of the nearest walls. The flash of plasma revealed the gang members she'd already slain. "Oh shit! Boss, what's this?" an orc asked Hashbash, as they spotted the mangled bodies ahead. Nia activated the enchantment of her cloak, which shifted, hardening into sleek armor that clung to her form like a second skin, while hampering her ability to sneak around. Though part of her knew she should bail, as she had accomplished what she had wanted to do here, none of that would matter if Commander Cocaine's mob messed it all up and made things worse for the locals. She locked the door to the control room from the inside and blinked to ground level. "Oh shit!" the same orc exclaimed as she strode into full view, as Nia mentally commanded her Salakoff to stand down for now, but prepare to attack from the shadows just in case. Though she didn't necessarily want to fight these guys yet, she would be prepared to do so if she had to. "It's that red woman on the telly! She's got a bounty on her!" "That's Devil's daughter, you dumb muppet!" Hashbash chided his underling. "Commander Cocaine said that she ain't for squishing until he says otherwise." "Good evening," Devil's daughter called out, showing no sign of fear as she mentally noted the instructions given by the infamous Commander Cocaine towards her. "I take it that means we can talk. I can assure you that the gang in this utility station have been taken care of, though there are patrols throughout the local districts that will be easy pickings." "Yeah, the boys are taking care of it," Hashbash nodded, though made no effort to sheathe his weapons despite telling his boys not to attack. "What are you doing here?" "Same as you, without the mess. You're welcome," she retorted. "But I do know some of your forces went to Cypherport before House Malkar and Corvin Enterprises got there. What happened?" "Dunno," Hashbash shrugged. "Some git took out the Redeemer before Commander Cocaine could. Then some other gits got there later and burned it all down before splitting up and leaving. Some of our boys were there when it happened, but I don't know much." "Split up?" Devil's daughter pressed. "They separated after the attack, and they're not the same people that killed the Redeemer?" "I dunno!" Hashbash shrugged again more aggressively. "It's just what I heard, but also..." At that moment, the loud boom of shuttle engines erupted from outside. From the hole they had blown to enter the building, Nia could see several of the Cocaine Crusaders aggressively cut down by plasma fire, likely from a ship turret. Attention, poor people! A voice purred over a loudspeaker. My name is Jazil Malkar, and it appears you're harboring enemies of my family, House Malkar. Quite the mistake you appear to have made. The voice made several patronizing tutting noises. I'll let it slide if you stay out of our way and do nothing to assist them. These prey are mine. Fuck! One of the boys cursed. It's the drow! How many drow ships? Nia asked telepathically to our watchers. 3 ships, boss. One of her imps confirmed for her. Focus on the idiots. I will assist you this once, Nia called out, causing Hashbash's expression to snap to her with a grin. I have my own reasons to oppose the drow. Save their leader for me, but otherwise, stay out of my way. That sounds good to me, Hashbash grinned. Alright, boys! Wah! Confirming the walls in the building only prevented entry, Nia teleported to one of the rooftops her imps confirmed was safe to travel to, taking her Salakov with her. Find the leader, Nia ordered, as she surveyed the battlefield, spotting drow soldiers decimating the undisciplined mob below. It was impressive how they were able to quickly mobilize and deploy like this, though Nia had no intention of allowing it to succeed. Outside one of the ships! Here! Another imp quickly informed her, drawing her attention to the main entrance of the utility station, spotting a lanky drow male in a brown hood with twin chakrams at his hip, barking orders to his squad before rushing towards the nearest non-drow combatants, throwing his chakrams to great effect as they curved mid-flight and caught many unawares. He's likely just here to make a name for himself, Nia concluded. I'll need to surprise the drow quickly with overwhelming force and get to him before he orders a retreat. Focusing her will, as she called upon several of the demons she had bound to herself, Nia waited and observed patiently as they manifested around her to join her imps and Salakov. Mentally picturing the drow in her mind, no longer bothering with the handful of rust wreckers remaining that would die in the fighting, she gave out a single command. Kill them all. Not even bothering to wait, while her demons jumped down from the roof, Nia rapidly cast a spell that would give her the best edge in this fight, and spotted Jazil slicing out one of the orcs. She blinked right behind him, having no intention of fighting fair. Though Jazil had sensed something behind him and twisted, he was far too late, as Nia quickly muttered a spell and fussed out her arm before 3 black demonic tendrils lashed out from beneath the sleeve of her robes, smashing into Jazil with powerful strength, the necrotic magic in the tendrils rapidly sapping his energy away as they did so. Shit! The drow cursed with wide eyes as he was knocked back, clearly recognizing the unexpected threat, but firmly caught by surprise. He managed to dodge 2 of the tentacles in a follow-up attack, but was struck by the third, sapping even more of his strength as he charged at Nia, before an eldritch blast knocked him back. The third tentacle lashed out again, the draining magics working as intended, as Jazil weakly parried one of them, before throwing the chakram at Nia, who just about dodged, receiving only a grazing cut for her troubles. Thinking quickly, Nia muttered a quick cantrip and blasted a small cloud of brimstone point blank at the drow, blinking back to avoid any attacks as the smokescreen disoriented Jazil enough for her tentacles to trip the now exhausted drow up and hold him on the ground. What has the Nira done with my staff? Nia questioned with a growl, forcefully pushing the butt of her current staff into Jazil's neck to press her question. My family will kill you, the drow sneered, before growling in pain as Nia channeled intense heat into her staff, taking advantage of the fact that she was immune. Not an answer. He uses it in combat, Jazil spat out, though this was information Nia already knew, and pressed her staff in harder. Fuck! He and Gravel examined it and didn't know what it was made of. They do occasional experiments on it, but only know it has immense power. Thank you, Nia curtly replied, before increasing the power of the flames, which pumped into Jazil as he writhed, powerless on the floor, his mouth gaping open in a silent scream as he was cremated from the inside. I know your family will use their resources to maybe try and bring you back, or more likely at least find out what happened here. She spoke aloud, knowing that others would eventually hear her words. So they will know that I will mark every single one of them for death, and rid Naganai of those slaver scum. And as for the Nero that defeated me, he only did so through luck, and as you can see, I am very much alive." Nia gritted her teeth in hatred as she pumped even more power into her torturous spell. "I will find him at his most vulnerable. I will not hold back. I will offer no quarter. I will inflict on him such pain that is beyond his understanding. And then, only once I am finally satisfied, I will kill him without dignity and rid the galaxy itself of his filth." Grunting with an intense anger, Nia finally released an explosive burst of power and finished the tortured drow off. Looking up and around, she saw figures at the windows around the utility station looking at her. Men, women, and children had witnessed her, and many of them were cheering. Her job here was done. Recalling her demons and taking several seconds to summon a portal, Nia strode through, instantly crossing several miles of the city to one of her favorite rooftops, with an overarching view of the city, a relatively peaceful location, and no questions asked from the inhabitants. She checked her comlink, smiling to herself as she settled down, and saw she had an unread message from Svati, which she rushed to answer, typing away as she gave her own perspective on their homework they had both gotten recently for arcane runes, before she sent the text and sighed to herself happily. As Nia looked out over the city, she smiled at the good job she'd done tonight. No doubt the people she'd helped tonight would spread the very sentiment she felt right now. Devil's daughter was so fucking back.